Welcome to the Chemistry 135 Physical Chemistry Principles Laboratory. In this lab, you will be introduced to some of the methods and techniques of experimental chemistry. You will also learn to make logical deductions from experimental observations and to solve problems in an experimental context. Before your lab period, you should have 1. Familiarized yourself with Experiment 1, 2. Read the suggested sections of your textbook if necessary, 3. Completed your pre-lab assignment, and 4. Reviewed the laboratory safety and emergency procedures detailed in your lab manual. Come to the lab equipped with a pen, your hardcover notebook to record your data and observations, your Chemistry 135 lab manual which details the experiments you will be performing, and your safety gear consisting of your lab coat, goggles, nitrile gloves, and closed-toed shoes. Suitable clothing must be worn so that no skin is exposed below the lab coat. Your lab coat should be buttoned all the way, and any long hair must be tied back. Your safety goggles must be worn at all times in the lab. Nitrile gloves are required when handling chemicals. Please store all bags, coats, and other personal belongings in the cupboards below the benches upon entering the lab. Although every effort has been made by your lab instructors to identify and minimize hazards, it is your responsibility to exercise caution and follow safety procedures at all times when in any laboratory. Before each lab, make yourself aware of the environmental and safety hazards associated with the materials and equipment used in each experiment, as well as any safety precautions stated in the experimental procedure. Common sense should be applied to ensure your personal safety, as well as that of those around you. You should arrive to each lab session fully prepared for your assigned experiment and familiar with the emergency and safety procedures. In the case of a fire, first shout "Fire!" loudly to warn all others of the danger, then calmly and quickly leave the lab by the nearest exit. If your clothing has caught fire, do not run. Stop, drop, and roll to extinguish the flames. Eating, drinking, and running are strictly prohibited in the laboratory. All accidents and injuries, no matter how minor, must be reported to your lab TA. If you're feeling ill or lightheaded, step away from your lab bench and notify your lab TA or lab instructor. Your health and well-being is always of highest priority. Above all else, don't be afraid to approach your lab TA with any questions or concerns you have regarding the experiment, safety, or any other aspect of the lab. Your lab TAs are there to guide you and help you grow as a researcher. As you enter the lab, take note of the locations of the safety showers, eye wash stations, fume hoods, fire extinguishers, and fire exits. Be sure to label all glassware to keep track of your chemicals. Notify your lab TA of any broken glassware. Do not pick up any broken glassware with your hands. Use the designated brush and pan and place all pieces in the bin labeled "Broken Glass Only." Do not place broken glassware in the garbage. All spills must be cleaned up immediately using paper towel or a spill kit as necessary. If you are unsure, consult your lab TA who will instruct you on the proper cleanup. If any substances come in contact with your skin or clothing, go immediately to the nearest tap or safety shower and flood the affected area with copious amounts of cold water. Eye wash stations are located at each sink. Don't hesitate to assist another person who may need it. In order to minimize injury, start any treatment before informing your lab TA. Always use the fume hoods when instructed to do so to minimize the release of unwanted vapors and odors. The waste disposal bins for each experiment will also be found in the fume hoods. Make sure you're aware of the environmental and safety hazards associated with the chemicals used in each experiment. Refer to the properties table that you created in your notebook. Your TA will inform you of the designated containers for waste disposal located in the lab fume hoods. No chemicals, liquid or solid, are to be disposed of in the sink. If you are unsure of the proper disposal steps, ask your TA. Use a small amount of the provided soap solutions to wash all glassware. Rinse thoroughly with tap water to remove soap residue. Finally, give your glassware a final rinse using distilled water to remove the tap water, making sure that the entire inner surface of the vessel comes in contact with the distilled water. Once everything is clean and dry, return all glassware back to the designated equipment drawers. Have your TA check your notebook and lab bench, and make sure you hand in your data sheet before leaving the lab. You are now ready to start the Chemistry 135 Physical Chemistry Principles Laboratory. By its very nature, experimental chemistry is potentially challenging. However, by coming prepared, following the rules, paying attention, and using common sense, you can minimize risks and be confident in your safety in the lab. We hope the Chemistry 135 labs will be an enjoyable learning experience for you.